Hello and welcome to the fourth in the North American Customer Centricity Awards webinar series. Today we are very lucky to have representatives from Canada running through the topic, which is CX insights to drive innovation. As part of the North American Customer Centricity Awards, we will be creating a number of these webinars, some of which have been run this week and will be running in the build up to our large event, which will take place in Dallas in June. And we want this to be a very content-led focus and the opportunity for each of you to ask questions. So for any of the speakers that are representing us today, can you please, if you have any questions at all, write them in the chat box and they will do their best to respond to those at the end of their presentation. So just to give you some insight for the North American Customer Centricity Awards, if you are interested, we have an entry deadline this month, and with the finalists being announced next month. And at the end of June, there will be masterclasses, Customer Centricity Conference, as well as awards finals and ceremony. Now, I would like to introduce the speakers for today. So Mr. Akash Tolnai, CEO of Ability Matrix, Jackie McAtee, Director of Brand Experience of ATB Financial, and Umer Asif, who's the Global CX Innovation Manager of Shell. Thank you very much for joining us today. So Akash, if you don't mind going first, can I put it over to you to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Akash, and we work in the innovation field, and we are using customer experience to figure out what customers needs. And we have built a methodology around what we call CX-based market segmentation model. And that's how we drive innovation and help clients from all around the world to figure out what should come next.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Jackie?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie McAtee. I'm the Director of Brand Experience here at ATB Financial in Alberta. My background's actually in luxury hotels. So I come from a marketing background, having worked in Australia, New Zealand, and the Middle East before coming to Canada about 9 years ago. Currently, my role involves looking at the experience that we're offering in our branches and how we improve that, and really bring much more of a customer centricity focus to it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jackie. And Umer?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Umer Asif. I work for Shell as the Global Customer Experience Innovation Manager. And I've been with Shell for 12 years now. And I'm basically a customer experience champion looking after design and implementation of customer experience strategies for more than 60 countries. My expertise is in measurement, so mystery shopping, voice of customer, voice of employee, and brand audits. And I'm also a Forrester certified customer experience professional and closely associated with the CXPA.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Umer. And that leads us on to our first question of the day. So, Akash, if I can start with you, how do you use measurement to identify the areas which will have the biggest impact on customer satisfaction?
Well, obviously, if you understand the customer journey and can put NPS measurement to each step of the customer journey, it's probably the easiest way to identify the weakest link in the whole customer journey. And what we suggest is that when you understand the weakest link, is try to gather as much qualitative insight as possible. And for this, probably the easiest or fastest way is to use so-called natural language processing applications for sentiment analysis and topic research. So basically, you can understand at a given customer journey point where you are losing customers or the satisfaction is low, what are the problems, and how people are describing these problematic steps. Basically, these are the two easiest ways to figure out the biggest changes.
Excellent. Thank you. Umer or Jackie, would you like to add to that?
Well, I would agree to that. Customer journey mapping is where I would start. And even before I get into any measurement programs and deciding which of those measurement programs I want to use. So even getting some customers into the room, finding out how they feel about the existing customer journey, and then getting the frontline staff and people to map out exactly each touch point on the journey and what matters most to the customers on each of those touch points. And once you figure those touch points out and how you should deliver the service to the customers on those touch points, then eventually then you can go on and decide what measurement you want to use and what sort of questions you want to put in that measurement, but understanding exactly what's most important for the customers and what are those critical touch points is where you need to start.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Umer. And Jackie, that leads us on to our next question, which I'll put to you. So what are the measurement programs that you've worked with before and which have been most successful?
You know, really, it's the ones that the executives believe in. And I know that that sounds a bit strange and it's not an answer that folks might be looking for, but if you're not using programs that executives can get behind, then you're not going to get that buy-in that you need. And the ones that we've really had success with have been those that we've stuck with and then looked at the actual movement in the measure. So not changing every quarter, but saying we're going to commit to this for 12 months, 18 months, to see what the measure is, either positive or negative, and then said, okay, this is working or it's not working. It's not moving the factors that we need it to move. We have a few that have been around for a long time, things that measure NPS, what we call CAI, which is Customer Advocacy Index. But they've been around for a long time, and we're currently going through a process to say, are they really moving what we need them to move? And that's, the questions coming down for executives, which goes back to the first point. Make sure you've got that buy-in.
Absolutely. And Umer, I'm sure you have some experience with this. Would you have anything to add to that?
So we've worked with measurement programs for a number of years, and when I can recall when I got into this industry, there was a lot of focus on mystery shopping, and that still lives on, but mystery shopping was basically a calibrated way of assessing what you think is most important to the customer. And then over the years, Voice of Customer has come in as one of the more popular feedback programs. And now we see every other brand asking for feedback. So I was just sharing with somebody on my journey over just yesterday. I was traveling, and I got 5 different feedback survey requests. So it is intense out there right now. Every company feels that getting feedback through real customers is important. And there's more and more focus on getting it through surveys. But more recently, we also see that there's focus on getting quicker survey and quicker feedback through things like smiley buttons and that technology. So it's quicker, it's more Uber style. Like when you get off an Uber, you put one question, and if you want to add comments, that's still optional. So it's still one question with the ability to just give you 5 stars or something. So that's more the recent trends that we see, make it simpler, quicker, and in the moment. And but I think personally, any program that helps you get real customer feedback, that helps you check the pulse of your customers, what they feel, and it helps you make improvements as a result, would be a good one. So focusing on the real customers, audits and mystery shopping is still relevant, but more important is to get real customer feedback, and the program that works best for your business would be the one to go for.
Excellent. And Akash, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I haven't been implementing any such programs or consulting this, but I have found a very, very interesting example that is done by Prezi.com. Basically, it's an online presentation company. And what they did is that the quarterly performance review is basically a 360 culture and effort review within the company. So basically how they approach customer centricity and customer experience is through the culture and through the people. And for that, they have built this quarterly review that focuses on culture, how you are helping your peers, how you're helping clients. So basically they're trying to measure something that is quite intangible. and I find this program brilliant.
Very good. Thank you for that. And Jackie, again, just to start with you. So, in your experience, how do you get from customer insight to real transformation in companies to become more customer centric?
I think building on what Umer said in the previous answer there, which was around when you're getting a survey, you're getting a rating, but you're also getting that comment from the customer. I think really bringing in those testimonials from customers, bringing in a customer to talk to the leadership team in your company are really powerful and valuable moments that make it real. And as much as you can see the data and you can see the graphs going up and the graphs going down, when you hear it from a customer that says, this is why your experience sucks, or this is why I'm always going to do business with you, it does make it much more real. And I think the other couple of things that I'd add to that is building the customer journey map so that they're easy to understand, so that the teams inside the organization can see what's broken. They're not just seeing it as an entire map with all these bits and pieces. They're saying, okay, this is a pain point that's important to our customers. How do we work together to solve that? I would also say sort of horizontal across the organization, input and buy-in is really important, because transformation doesn't happen in a silo for an organization. It happens across the organization. A couple of other quick hits that I would suggest is that anything that's tied to financial outcomes, anything that's tied to people's bonuses are super valuable ones to really make the transformation happen. I would also suggest that, and this is a hard one for companies to do, but prioritizing customer satisfaction metrics over business milestones. So don't be scared to delay releasing a new product if it won't delight because of the business time frame. You might save money in the short term, but in the long term, your customers are going to be annoyed, and that's going to cost you more. So, that's very much boots on the ground type of thinking.
Yeah. And Akash, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I'm totally on board with what Jackie said. We had the experience of an insurance company. We could invite the CEO to the interviews that we were doing with clients, and the actual client or potential customer didn't even know that the CEO was in the room. So that one of the attendants is the CEO, and we didn't know that the potential client is an actual client of that insurance company. And when he started to describe his experience and all the interactions with the company, and at the end he came up with the brand name, the CEO was totally shocked. I mean, she asked twice or three times that, do you really remember this? And this is actually what happened. And it really changed the whole project. So we got a lot more C-level buy-in, and from that point on, the project got supported really from the C-level. And to circulate back to people, what I have seen as kind of a great example is when you create the cross-silo teams and they create success or move the needle forward, then just celebrate these people. It's a very strong feedback to the whole organization if someone steps over the process to serve the client or the customer. So really lives the serving the customer mantra. Then celebrate these people and put them out there, so others can believe that whenever I challenge the system, whenever I change the processes, I'm not going to be put on trial for that, rather than celebrated.
Brilliant. And Umer, is there anything you'd like to add to Akash?
Yeah, I think the points already mentioned do make are definitely there. And then in my experience, it has to start from the top. And if you really want to set a company culture where the customer is at the center of everything you do, then the leaders need to walk the talk. And I've seen leaders that really are passionate about the customer. They can be seen in the front line, and they're proud about the brand. You actually see that culture flowing down throughout the organization and everybody getting onto that journey. So it has to start from the top leadership, and they need to walk the talk. And then from the leadership, I would say then the next most important layer is the front line. So people who actually interact with the customer, how much importance you give to them, and how you treat them, and how do you make them part of the mission to treat the customer as well. So making sure they're really on board, and then the leadership's driving the culture, and everybody else in the organization's aligned to support that front line. And then also linking it to your performance in a way that people are not just delivering authentic experiences or trying to deliver those experiences just for the sake of their personal performance, but it's more, it's still rewarding and recognizing the right behaviors, and people get recognized for when they deliver good service and good experiences, but it's still not impacting performance in a way where people just do it for the sake of their compensation. And so that plus then actually to the customer, you need to come as being authentic in what you do. So although you can say you're customer centric and you tell the frontline to be customer centric, but if somebody comes back to you with a problem and you don't treat them in that same manner, then that doesn't make sense. So you have to make those missions and ambitions, the vision for customer experience, come to life in what you actually deliver to the customer in the front line. And with everything aligned in that manner, I think an organization can really deliver exceptional customer experiences and become customer centric.
Brilliant. Thank you, Umer. And for the next question, I'd like to start with Akash. So what leading companies or industries do you think have been successful in this regard?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this, but I don't know how surprising it is. I believe Microsoft. I find it quite amazing how they have changed in the last 5 or 6 years. So basically everybody is looking at Microsoft as some kind of wonder, transforming such a giant, from totally ignoring customers to being fancied by customers, and just the whole perception how Microsoft is treated has just changed. And for customer experience projects or this kind of culture and perception change, 5 years is really nothing. So it's just an amazing feat to pull this off. And I believe digital industries or companies coming from digital background have an advantage over traditional companies, as part of the digital culture is the user experience and designing the user experience. So basically that gives them a slight advantage over other industries.
Thank you. And Jackie, are there any that spring to mind for you?
Yeah, I think for listeners on the call, there's industries that have traditionally been brought up in that custom centricity, and so hotels, a lot of the cruise lines, some of the airlines, really those ones that come deeply seated in a hospitality mentality. They're the ones that I see as leaders in this field. So I hear what Akash is saying, something like Microsoft, that's been a massive shift there. That's been a transformation from a product company to go into that really being about the customer. If you strip it back and you look at those industries that started with the customer, they do generally come from that nature of hosting. So, and I think that if you can think about your industry and say, okay, how could we be a host? How could we infuse that hospitality into our business? And that's not easy. Like I said, I work for a bank, and being truly personalized in the banking industry, beyond saying a name that might be on my statement, which may not be the name that I use, it might be my legal name, that's where they have to get to. So personalizing it and shifting. It's a mindset shift, I think, for anyone that's not grown up in that hospitality focus to think about it. Everyone coming into our law office, they are guests. So how do we treat guests when they come into our home? Those are the sort of the bits that I would start to see if you can't shift within the organization.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Umer, anyone spring to mind for you as well?
I would focus on some of the Canadian companies, and I moved into Canada about a year ago, and Canada is known for its hospitality and friendly people. So there's already an advantage that market has, but especially in retail and wholesale, like I went around setting up my new home and all that, so I interacted with a lot of brands in retail, in all the way from furniture companies to various other companies. And a couple of brands that do stand out for me is number one, the Home Depot. They're a North American brand selling home improvement stuff and hardware and all that. And two aspects that I saw really strong in them. One was the way they capture customer feedback. So you have it on all payment terminals now. You have it on your receipt, and people actively invite you to seek feedback. So you can see they're interested in getting customer feedback. And it also translates into the actual experience you get in the store. So in a lot of other stores, like they're self-serve and nobody would come up to help you. And when you go to Home Depot, you have people coming in offering to help. And even if you're just buying one screw or a screwdriver, like they would just stand there for a few minutes, guide you about what to do and how to go about doing DIY stuff at your home. So the way they interact with you, the way they help customers out, even if they're not buying something too expensive, I think you can see it in their culture. And all the way from if there's a problem with what you bought and you need to return it, the way they deal with you is excellent. So that stands out. And then in North America, Costco is known for their customer service and experience. What I don't see much in Costco is that they capture a lot of active customer feedback, but their service when it comes to dealing with customers and making sure they're happy and satisfied, that is exceptional. Like I've not seen any other brand doing it better than them. And all the way from like, even if you've paid for the membership fee, you could go back 6 months later and say you're not happy with it, and they refund your membership fee. And there's never a problem. Like whenever you have a problem with anything that you bought, they're so helpful and always welcoming, never ask you a question. And I think they've really won over a lot of customers' hearts that way. Some of the other brands I see, like this focus on the compensation model that I saw in Canada, like the frontline staff are, in a lot of cases, are based on commissions. And that's where I see some of the brands that are focusing on frontline people who are just on commission-based packages. They don't carry that customer experience all the way. Like they're more interested in selling the thing to you, but then once you're the customer, everything's sold, they just move on. And for them, the next customer is so important. So, and this really links back to what I previously said, like making sure your front line's aligned, the message flows throughout the organization, and you can see it in the actions that you have, and then making sure your staff compensation is also linked to how you deliver that customer experience. And as the brands that I just mentioned, those are the ones that really do it well.
Very good. Thanks, Umer. And I'll stick with you for the next question. So what trends do you see in 2020 for CX measurement programs?
So what I've recently seen, there are a lot of programs and lots of vendors currently out there. So this space seems to be growing and getting more competitive, and companies are coming up with different products, which are quite similar in several manners. But if I look at it, then getting in the moment, quick and easy feedback seems to be the trend that's coming up. So in a lot of these airports, you might have seen the smiley buttons and smiley faces where you just press a button and give feedback. That seems to be catching on. And then like a lot of the online feedback and getting feedback in the moment, especially like if you've flown Emirates Airlines, the moment you land, they present a question on the screen, which is 5, 10 smiley faces on how your experience was. And also, I was flying Delta in the US yesterday, and the minute you land, they're asking you for your feedback. And when you step out of your flight, you get an email invitation for the survey. So really focusing on in the moment, making sure you capture the feedback when it's really fresh, and making it simple and easy for the customer to give that feedback seems to be the trend that's catching on.
Yeah.
But the good thing is a lot of companies are now focused on measuring customer experience and collecting real feedback, which would help with the purpose of improving customer experience.
Excellent. And Jackie, is there anything you see?
Yeah, I agree with everything Umer said there. I think there's a level of maturity in some companies. So some companies are sort of starting it and you're seeing it everywhere, such as the smiley faces, the thumbs up, thumbs down type of feedback. I think some of the more mature companies will probably go into more of the exploration around the whole system, so the whole journey that is impacting the thumbs up or thumbs down or the smiley face or the sad face. So the more mature companies, I'm seeing them look at it much more holistically and to get the more details to improve it. I think that one of the areas that we're exploring a lot more about is trying to get our measurement as close to the customer interaction as we can. So like Umer said, he got off the Delta flight, straight away there was a feedback then. So certainly for the bank, that's new territory. You know, you don't go in and do a transaction and then immediately get a survey. It's probably a week later that says, hey, you were at our branch. How was that experience? So thinking how we can get much more in the moment, real time feedback. And then I think one of the other trends that we're seeing a little bit more on is focusing on the content. So natural language processing, looking at the verbatim comments, pulling out sentiment, pulling out things such as, I'll just make up an example, but if you're getting a whole lot of verbatims that said the flight was great, but the chair was uncomfortable, and chair keeps coming up and chair keeps coming up, well, you need to look at your chair. Regardless of the fact the flight was good, you're still getting a lot of feedback around a chair. So that verbatim comments and looking deeply at those to identify trends, identify pain points that might be missed when you just get a feedback.
Absolutely. And Akash, is there anything that you can see for 2020? Companies focus on?
Well, we work a lot with startups, so I'd rather talk about what is possible in 2020 rather than what can be a trend. Basically, when you're using natural language processing and you extend it with AI, then it should become possible to filter the false positive and false negative feedbacks. So that is something I believe you could see coming. And the other is how companies delivering measurement tools, softwares, programs, how they can tie it to return on invest. So basically how you can tie your measurement program to money or making money, or how improving the customer experience, the given touch point or part of a service or product will improve the financials, the bottom line.
Brilliant. Thanks, Akash. And question for you as well, Jackie. So how are insights used to drive innovation in your experience in your company or previous roles?
I look at that question in two ways. So I look at the insights that are coming internally and the insights that you can gather from outside your industry. So maybe I'll start with the latter first.
Yeah.
I think that there's innovation happening, and you know, we just heard in the startup world, for example. So looking at what's going on outside of your organization can really help you say, okay, this is shifting the experience for these companies. This is something that we can adapt or bring into our company. So looking outside of your industry, outside of your category, I think super valuable. And I'll just go back to one of the maxims that I use is that customers are not judging you like us as a bank on the last bank we visited, but on their last best experience. So if that best experience was at the grocery store where they didn't have to pull out a wallet when they walked out the door, then how are we innovating internally to actually get to that delivering of that service, if that's where customers' behaviors are shifting? I think the second part, which is really the internal lens that you have is every innovation that we look at, every product that we look at or change in what we're delivering has to come from real customer data. It can't be because, you know, an executive said that this is what they wanted to do. It really is around, this is insights from customers that we've heard time and time again that's not working, it's not doing what they need it to do, it's whatever. This is where the focus needs to be. This is where we need to have the innovation, not spread thinly over 15 other projects that perhaps aren't delivering the value back to the customer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jackie. And Umer, is there anything you would like to add to that?
And I think like what's most important is understanding the insights. So a lot of times like companies capture feedback and then it looks good with regards to numbers and the KPIs that you follow, but actually understanding the insights and then drilling deeper into why customers felt that way, like trying to find out what was behind it and what are the pain points that we can address. And sometimes that could mean like if you're consistently getting the same feedback about something, you get a few customers into a room and do sort of a focus group and try to understand what's driving that pain point and what action could you take to address that pain point. And eventually then making those amends. And if it's something to do with technology or just with people and training, then taking those actions to make sure all those pain points are addressed and implemented and shared widely across the organization. So if you have more than one location you're operating on, then everybody gets onto it and that innovation's actually cascaded to all your locations. So that's how I see insights translating into innovation. And really, it has to be a dedicated effort around understanding what customers really want and why they're saying what they're saying.
Brilliant. And then for you, Akash, if you're working with a lot of startups and SMEs, this must be very important.
Basically, I totally agree with Jackie. And just to bring it one step further, if it depends whether you are improving something or making something new out of the old. And if you're just improving something, it makes sense to look at the customer journey, look at the background, why that experience is happening and how you can improve it. But if you're starting something new or have the chance to start from blank, then I would advise to start with what is the experience people want to feel. Independent of how you solve it, what kind of resources you have, just focus on the experience. Use subjective words to describe the feelings and to extract these feelings from reviews either for your company or your competition or competitive products already on the market, and try to understand the experience that needs to be delivered and engineer back from the end experience and figure out how you can fill the void with tangible features, benefits, services, touch points to create this kind of experience.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Akash. And we have one question from the audience, which is from Lindsay. So Lindsay has asked, how do you handle the fatigue people seem to have for being requested to provide so much feedback? So I think this has been touched on, and especially what Jackie was saying about shorter, more up-to-date live feedback, really. But in terms of, as you said, Umer, as well, what, 5 different feedback forms you got requested to fill in recently? So would anyone like to answer this question? How do you manage survey fatigue?
I think, in my view, like if you can't really control the feedback requests that other companies send to your customers, but what you can control is how many you send out, and making sure that your survey system is intelligent enough to not just churn out surveys to every customer, but to like maybe it uses artificial intelligence to figure out what's the right moment to send a survey, or you place in some rules to define like you send out one survey to your loyalty customers in 1 month, and that way you can really control what point in time do you want to send surveys to your customers, and also be more intelligent with what part of the transaction do you want to send it to them. But that's how you can control it, but you cannot control other companies bombarding them with surveys. So, but you can definitely play a role in making sure you're not the one who's causing that fatigue.
Great. And
I
Jackie,
think I
I
would
think
add
Umer
to
just got
that,
ahead.
which
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say, I think I would add to that, which is that if you're not getting the responses to your surveys that you might be sending out, if it's a survey, those type of things, is to try a different approach. And that might be just having a conversation with a customer. It might be just putting yourself out there and saying, hey, I see you visited our store, or you were in our branch. Can I chat to you? I mean, it's something that I do when I'm in visiting our bank branches. If someone's waiting, excuse me, in a queue, I'll just introduce myself and say, hey, tell me, why you're here today. How has your experience been with our bank? Anything that you want to share with us that might improve it. And in those moments, it's making it real. So it's no longer this anonymous survey coming from, help us measure at xyz.com. It's actually coming from me, Jackie, to you, whoever, to say, hey, I'm here to help. How might we do this better?
Yeah. Thanks, Jackie.
I also believe in what Jackie just told us, but what you could do when you are running surveys or mobile applications is to come with something unexpected, something that is fun, something that is shocking, like Tinder-like swipe right after they land, or at the checkout in a hotel. You don't want to tip, that means bad experience, let's talk about it. Or let's say I'm checking out of the hotel, leaving the hotel, and I get a push notification from the application, swipe left for $10 tip, swipe right for bad experience. And whenever I swipe right, let's say within 5 minutes, I get a call from someone that is a person. So try to figure out something that is either fun or unexpected, and the users will react, or the customers will react.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Akash. So there are no further questions from the audience. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to each of you, Akash, Jackie, and Umer, for participating today. Thank you very much for your insight. And for all of those that have attended, thank you very much for taking the time today to listen in. This will be recorded, or has been recorded, and will be available on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to visit our webinars page of the North American Customer Centricity Awards website, and we'll have links to our YouTube channel. And also we have one more for this week's series, which is for South America. So if you're interested in that as well, some of you have already signed up for that too. So thank you very much again to the presenters and to all of you who have attended today, and have a great day. Thanks again.